Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Options Trading Concepts Live. But this is the Crypto Takeover. I'm Shelly Van. This is Dan Cecilia, and you all know Ryan Grace. How are we doing today?
Doing well. It's great to be here. Love being on primetime. Love being with everyone here in the morning. Appreciate Nick and Mike for letting us take over. Shout out, they'll be out in DC. Anyone in our audience out in DC. We're doing a live show. You'll be flying out there.
That's right. Tomorrow night, 5 p.m., the doors open. So I expect a line around the block. And that's at the Union in DC. We've got the whiteboard tour. And Mike, Nick, Katie, and myself are going to be there. There's going to be beer too, guys, by the way, or wine or whatever booze that people like to drink. So come out for the show, and we're going to talk crypto. We're going to talk portfolio management, trade ideas, and hopefully meet everybody in person.
Go for the booze, stay for the trading education.
That's right. Yeah.
You know?
Hell yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's introduce who we are, right? First time on the show, you might have seen us on Tasty Crypto Show or Beans. We are the crypto team here at Tasty Trade. And Shelly, you want to go through it?
If we can pull up my slide really quickly. I've got a quick intro. I know chat is confused. My name is Shelly Van. I am the Crypto Content and Marketing Manager here at Tasty Crypto. I'm the co-host of Beans, Tasty Crypto's live crypto show. My background is in Web3 marketing, and I have produced over 1,000 virtual events, specifically around music NFTs and music on chain. So very, very crypto native. My goal in the space is to just make crypto more approachable to normies, which if y'all don't participate on chain things, you're a normie. No shame.
Love that. So I'm Dan. I'm the head of growth here at Tasty Trade for the crypto business. Co-host of Beans, Tasty Crypto's live show. Been 5+ years in crypto Web3. Created and launched my own NFT collection, among other DeFi projects. So been deep in the space for the last 3 years, running my own projects before I came over to Tasty. I truly believe that crypto exposure, when approached properly, the space, when approached properly, will optimize your portfolio. And it's just a fun asset to trade, right? Super volatile, ton of attention on it. You know, maybe some of you don't know where to start with it, and that's why we're here, right? Background, I started my career, I was a licensed equity options rep at TDA. So I was on Thinkorswim. So some of you might know Thinkorswim, might be loyal followers of that platform. That's how I learned to trade options.
You're an OG.
I'm an OG. So that's my claim to fame, I guess. If you need any legitimacy for me, I was an equity options rep. I worked on TOS. So I definitely want to speak your language, and I want to help you. Just like Shelly, we all want to help you navigate the space if you're interested. So that's me. That's Shelly. I think you all know Ryan by now.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name's Ryan Grace. Somehow, some way, Tom lets me come on this show and talk about trade ideas, markets, and more recently, we have a few thoughts on crypto, I suppose, which, as you mentioned, is a fun asset to trade. I enjoy the volatility myself.
Yeah. So what's happening? Let's see what's happening now. Let's go to the next slide. We got some news. So I think most people here, if you're an options trader, if you're with Tasty, you've probably been paying attention to IBIT. You've probably been paying attention to the ETFs. The best ETF launch in history. I think, I don't know what the stat was, but it reached like $70 billion in volume in the shortest amount of time in history for an ETF product. So super, super hot, super volatile, heavily traded. So we got the flows up there. 431 million flowed in yesterday for Bitcoin. But I want to make a note of ETH. 125 million flowed into the ETH ETF. We'll bring that up later. But I think ETH's catching a bid here. And I saw some people in the chat talk about ETH, and it's underperformed for a while, but there's some early signs, especially with the flows, but also this company treasury trade where people are going out and acquiring these companies and buying up spot assets. Mm-hmm. So look out for ETH. There's some early signs that it's going to catch a bid. And then Solana ETF's on the way too. So some of you might know Solana. It's definitely kind of caught the attention in the last couple years. I recently read that a couple ETFs are on file with the SEC. So take a look at that. That might be bullish as well. And yeah, I mean, Ryan, you got anything on that or any other stuff that you want to talk about with Bitcoin ETFs or ETH ETFs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty prevalent flow here into ETFs when you look at both Bitcoin and Ethereum. To your point, Dan, as of really March, we've started to see the inflows into ETH pick up as well. The narrative has been that ETH is dead. What is it good for? It's too slow. The L2s are going to, take away from the kind of fee revenue and where the value accrues there. And we've seen that narrative before. It just simply isn't true. What we have seen over the last few months is a bid in ETH. It has performed Bitcoin on a relative basis. Don't get me wrong. If you look at where we are year to date, it's down. But we're trading a lot better, a lot more positively over the last couple of weeks, really. Here we are, I think still north of 2,800, knocking on the door. I think you get a break at 2,850 on the chart here. You probably run pretty quickly to 3,000, but you look at what's behind that, right? And so you have the bid in the ETFs. You can go to the block. You can look at the Ethereum ETF dashboard here. You'll see that those flows have been pretty positive. If I look at where we were 2 days ago, I don't have an update for the 10th, 52 million in inflows in ETFs for Ethereum in aggregate on June 9th. On the 6th, 25 million, 100 million on the 3rd. So if you look at this on a week-to-week basis, you're starting to see inflows that are at times, north of $100 million, which is really a completely different picture than where we were. Again, going back to kind of the beginning of the year, the launch, it was a little kind of underwhelming, I guess, if you want to put it that way. That all has changed. You're seeing a lot of institutions that are building on ETH, so that real-world asset narrative exists there. You're seeing a lot of TVL that is secured on Ethereum. There's other chains that do other things better, right? Depending on the use case. Some things are faster, they're more performative. But where is value being secured and where are institutions building? It's on Ethereum, and that's been asleep for a while. It's been left for dead. I think you're right. I think it's about to wake up.
Yeah, and we could show some of the fundamentals for that, like the real world assets, some of the transaction fees on the chain, and we can do that. But I want to take a look at the technical chart for a little bit because I noticed that ETH broke above the 200-day moving average. So if you guys can just go to my chart real quick, this pink line is just the 200-day moving average. You could see it broke above. It seems like this trend broke, and I'm just tracking this kind of on a day-to-day basis.
Are you sharing your browser?
Yes.
Okay, we need to see your browser screen.
Yeah. So that is kind of, I think, a trend to pay attention to, at least if you're looking at the technical chart. But yeah, I think pretty bullish ETH, right? Yeah. So obviously on the fundamental side, Ryan mentioned like fees, transactions, real world assets where people are building. We can show this later. I have a bunch of tools I use to track transaction fees. So if you ever want to look at like what these chains revenue, like if you're truly like, oh, this is vaporware, if you want to see what the revenue is on Solana, what the revenue is on ETH for just activity, I'll drop that later in the chat and we can go through some of those dashboards. But yeah, I just wanted to show that technical indicator because I thought it was really interesting as like a kind of like a signal, short-term signal there. So
yeah, when you look at signals as well, we send out this email on Wednesdays. So this morning you get the midweek market update. On Saturdays you get Next to Orange, jam-packed Tasty Crypto weekly newsletter. We put our performance dashboards in there and we include those exponential moving average kind of momentum signals that we derive. And when you look at ETH, we were neutral. And we were also neutral on a daily time frame for Bitcoin. That, as of this morning, has flipped. So you're seeing more positive signs there. Hopefully this move has legs. But when you typically, in my experience, go from bearish to neutral to bullish very, very quickly, obviously that's a pretty positive sign. But we've seen a quick move from that neutral momentum position to bullish. You're seeing that now with both Bitcoin, with ETH. We saw that earlier, and we put trades on as a result of this. We saw that with Aave. We saw that with Compound. And so it's pretty encouraging, again, that you're starting to see that momentum and a little bit of follow-through with ETH. I do think that there could be a little bit more upside here if you had a trade on around 2,500. Now, you want to trade that accordingly, manage risk in a prudent manner. So maybe you take some off the table if you do get to 3, but you've had some opportunities to kind of buy dips as of, just last week, right? Musk, Trump fighting on Twitter or whatever. We were back to 2,400 ETH. Now you're back to, you're $400 higher. So this does trade pretty well at times, or give you some opportunities, I should say.
Yeah, for sure. And if we could go back to the slides,
Yeah, while we have Ryan here, let's
do the
do the charts.
Yeah.
Or the tables.
So we got a market update here. Ryan, do you want to chat through some of the just symbols we have at Tasty as far as spot goes?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 23 assets that are available to trade through the Tasty Trade brokerage on a spot trading basis. So you can go long, there's no leverage, you can't short them, but obviously if you buy them, you can sell them. 23 assets, and that list is growing. I can promise you that. We've got more coming, hopefully within the next month. But, what are we seeing here today? We're seeing pretty positive performance on a weekly basis across the board. It's just that some are up a little bit more. And ETH is one of those here on the screen. Bitcoin Cash also catching a bid here. You can see there's a little bit stale price here. We're over 2,800, but 2,770 when we put this together. Flirting with new all-time highs with Bitcoin as well. We're up closer to 110 earlier, but those momentum signals that I've talked about were neutral for Bitcoin on the daily, and also for ETH. Those have flipped to bullish. Solana kind of underperforming here, though also catching a bid. That said, it still has been this narrative of Bitcoin over everything, at least at this point or this stage in the cycle. What I mean by that is look at Bitcoin market cap dominance. I think we have that on another slide, but look at the relative performance year to date. Bitcoin's up 17% on a relative basis. ETH is down over 30%. Everything else is down almost double digits here, with the exception of XRP on a relative basis. It is positive year to date, and you'll see that as well as you go further out on that risk curve. You look at smaller market cap tokens or altcoins, they've underperformed. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't see this shift at some point in the cycle, but for now, I still think you want to stick with what's been working. Bitcoin has been working. I think Bitcoin, again, has a bit of room to run here, given the environment that we're in, but pretty positive performance regardless across the board over the last week.
For sure. We could probably go to the next slide there. Do you have anything, Shelly? Ada, Aave, Link. That was in the newsletter. Yeah.
Yeah, that was your crypto pick of the week. So for anybody that does not receive our Saturday newsletters, Dan's got a lock of the week that you should all be looking into. This week's was Link. Do you want to speak a little about what made you pick that one?
Yeah. So Chainlink. If many of you don't know, Chainlink is basically a data blockchain. So it connects real world data with the blockchain. It's infrastructure for a lot of decentralized finance, a lot of some of the stuff BlackRock's doing. They're integrated into major banks. A real useful project or chain. So Link typically catches a bid I've seen in the past around, Bitcoin hits all-time highs, you get that rotation into altcoins, and Link is one of the first ones to run. So I picked that out because there's just a number of innovations happening over there. They're doing a ton of integrations. It's secured something crazy, like it's facilitated like something like $2 trillion in flows, which is absurd.
Bonkers.
So I picked that because I just felt like it was underperforming, and I'm not really giving indicators on it. It's just more of like, here's what the project is, here's the ranges it traded in, and some links that you can go look at. So if you're not subscribed to the Tasty Crypto newsletter, definitely subscribe to that. We'll drop the link in there after the show, and you can get those picks along with our other market commentary if you're interested. So yeah, definitely something to pay attention to. I think Sui's interesting too. Just a ton of new coins. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Chainlink is another one here where when we look at the exponential moving averages and the crossovers over different time frames to gauge that price momentum, we've also gone from bearish to neutral here as of today, yesterday, when we got the signal. So a positive sign, right? It's not something that I'm going to immediately jump into. I kind of like to wait for that buy signal. But we are starting to see a little bit of momentum build, which is encouraging.
Look at that 3-month move on Pepe, 82%.
Yeah, that's what's wild about some of these memes, right? You can get cut in half in a week, and you can double or triple in a week.
Yeah.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
What do we got in the chat here? Anything interesting? Stacking the sats, love that.
That.
I think quick question from Brett on what is the best ETH ETF? I don't know if there's a best per se, but I believe maybe the biggest or one of the biggest, I'll put it this way, the one that I typically trade the options on is ETH-A. That's the BlackRock iShares Ethereum ETF. So in the same way that you have the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, which is IBIT, you have ETH-A, which is going to be similar, obviously, but it's going to give you exposure to Ethereum. And there's options there. They're not as liquid as the Bitcoin options, but I think they're tradable in my opinion.
Yeah, I found this dashboard, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF stats. It's called, I put it in the chat, dgens.finance, but it tracks all of them. So 10th of June yesterday, ETH, 125 mil inflow. BlackRock got 80 million of the inflow. So, I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, hold on a second, guys. I'll put that on screen. Yeah, right here. Sorry, you guys can go to it. So this tracks it. 10th of June yesterday, largest inflow since early June, since June 3rd. BlackRock has about 5 billion total assets. So there's some others here, obviously, but I do think it kind of hits that narrative, like ETH's catching a bid. So just something to take a look at. So I think that kind of gives us an indication that maybe alt season's coming. I don't want to say that too early, but if you follow kind of the market and the cycles, Bitcoin runs, Bitcoin gets all the attention, and then we move out on the risk curve. That's the alts. And I'm sure some of you in the chat have had experience with alts, maybe positive, maybe negative, but something to look at for sure.
Absolutely.
So we can go back to the slides. Could do.
Your relative performance table here.
Yeah, just a couple other things to call out here, right? When we look at all these signals, we want to look for similar sets in some sense. We want to look for confirmation in a variety of different areas, right? So if we're talking about altcoin season, we want to see Bitcoin market cap dominance, BTC.D here on our screen. We want to see that roll over. Not really seeing that. Bitcoin's been trading very well. We talked about Bitcoin's relative outperformance on a year-to-date basis. Now, it's a rolling time frame that can change pretty quickly. But right now, it's kind of been that Bitcoin is stealing the spotlight. It's been really where people start in terms of new institutional money and new money flow into the space via those ETFs. The ETFs are sucking up a lot of that flow versus everything else. So Bitcoin market cap dominance still at 64% here, no change there. But what I will call out is that ETH is again trading a lot better. So it's trading better versus Solana. You can see that with the Sol ETH ratio there. On a 1 month basis, Solana on a relative performance perspective is down 25% versus ETH. And then when you look at ETH against Bitcoin, year to date, sure, Bitcoin is outperforming. But as of recently, we've seen momentum flip on the daily for the ETH BTC ratio. So ETH outperforming Bitcoin, or that idea of ETH being priced in Bitcoin, or even the trade being that you're long ETH and you're short Bitcoin, is working. Not anything that jumps off the page, but on a 1 month basis, it's up 4%. On a 1 week basis, on a 1 month basis, it's up 28%. So it's trading a lot better than it has been, which I think is notable. That said, I like to refer to this as a pretty trashy chart. And if you look at how this has trended over the last year, it's been terrible. So you're getting a bounce, which naturally you will get. It is a positive sign. If you've been waiting for ETH to pop, you're starting to see a little bit of it bubbling under the surface. But when we look at Bitcoin market cap dominance, it hasn't really rolled over yet. That said, we are seeing some positive signs again on that ETH BTC ratio, and ETH today trading pretty well. So if you owned ETH a couple weeks ago, you're feeling okay today.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like this is something that for the last year, it's just been hammered. Like ETH is dead, all this stuff. You could talk to that a little bit, right? Like because you've been deep in ETH, and
yeah. And I just think that I don't know. I'm just a believer, and I don't have anything more to say than I've just been in it so long and watching the narratives unfold. It's kind of like riding the storm.
Yeah.
We have a question from Ian. Any good DeFi DEX portfolio trackers, specifically for layer 2 ETH tokens? What are you using?
Yeah, so just for DeFi specifically, I always take a look at DeFi Llama, and you can filter. I'll bring that up on the screen if you guys can take to my screen for a second. I use this because it has basically everything that you need to know about DeFi. All the fundamentals, all the trading stats, fees, stablecoins, what have you. This is the home for DeFi for what I do. And then across the top here, you can see ETH, Solana, Arbitrum. To your layer 2 question, I can view all of the applications that are on these layer 2s, what they have in volume, what they've done in fees, right? Because again, there's a lot of projects that make money here. Fees, revenue, right? Ton of stuff that doesn't, ton of vaporware. I will agree with some in the chat on that, but this is where I go to kind of just look and see what are some, what's going on in DeFi. So Arbitrum's here, Base, Coinbase is layer 2, Unichain, Uniswap, and just some of the other ones. Bitcoin Fi is actually becoming a thing. We'll do a pretty big segment on that coming up. So if you guys want to do Bitcoin finance, like if you're having fun trading IBIT, Bitcoin Fi is a thing catching on. So that's along with like the Sailor trade with strategy and just some of that stuff. So yeah, DeFi Llama and Token Terminal is another one you guys can take a look. I dropped it in the chat. So a lot of data out there, a lot of stuff to take a look at. We want you to be informed, right? How do you look at this space? How do you look at it from a trading angle, right? Some of the stuff we do here as far as like volatility ranges, but also there's fundamentals, right? It's been around for a while. There's a ton of apps making money, and you can value them that way. So why would you buy ETH? Why would you buy Solana? Maybe there's something here that can you can take a look at and get some information on as far as revenue, users, traction. So all that's out there, and if you guys want anything else, feel free to chat us because we'll share with what we do. Anything else in the chat?
Not that I can see, and I'm wondering if my chat is actually frozen. But
Can we call out JDD here as this relates to one of the slides that we have in the deck? And this is a question or comment around really the low volatility level in BTC. So JDD. Anyone else notice the volatility on BTC has dropped a lot since April? Daily candles are much smaller. Absolutely. We've got our volatility tracker here. We'll speak to in a second. But the current implied volatility for Bitcoin is 42% on a 30-day basis if you annualize that. We can just go back to the slide real quick. That's low, right? We can measure that against itself over a 1 year period, or I like to look at this on a 6-month basis, a 3-month basis, slice it a few different ways. On 3-month basis, it's 4. 1 year, it's 2. We're basically at an IV rank of 0. It can stay there. It can go lower. Implied volatility can get a lot cheaper. Realized vol, though, is 32%. For context, Bitcoin's implied volatility at 42% compares to Tesla on the same time frame closer to 70%. That's been whipping around a lot, right? But it's become a lot less volatile more recently. Doesn't mean that it stays here. I think it presents an opportunity in the options, those upside calls, or if you believe that there's an impending crash, or pending crash, excuse me, then, which I don't think is, there's any signal of that, but who knows, right? Vol is cheap. Downside puts are cheap, upside calls are cheap. The tails are cheap here, relatively speaking. And so there might be a trade idea there where you could buy a call spread, or if you think, there's another 20, 30% upside in Bitcoin over X time frame, you can buy exposure to that. What I like to do here is just trade this from the vol perspective. So we know that IB rank is basically 0. Now, if you go farther out on the option chain and you go to higher strikes, you're going to have different per strike vols. So our VIX style calculation is going to give us a 42% implied volatility. But if we go to the 70 or 80 strike on the chain and you go out a month or 2 months, you're going to see that volatility is going to be higher than 42%. But what we do know is that Bitcoin's implied volatility has traded, and its realized volatility as well has traded at much, much higher levels. Implied volatility can easily go back to 60. That might be closer to the top of the range. It could be 80. We know that there are points in history where Bitcoin's volatility was well above 100. So the trade here could be that for whatever reason, you get a pop in volatility, and I think it's because you get a bigger move to the upside, but we'll see. We do know that it's often positively correlated. Price goes up and volatility goes up at the same time versus what we typically see with the S&P and other kind of more traditional risk assets. But if you're long that volatility and you get that move, you don't need the price of Bitcoin to double or anything crazy like that. You just need vol to go from, if your per strike vol is 50, you need to go to 60, 65, 70, which I think it will in that environment where you do get a little bit of a move. So I think it's still relatively cheap to put on long call spreads, or even if you wanted to buy put spreads. But I think you do need to kind of get the directional component right here.
Yeah, and Neri T in the chat did have a question pertaining to that. It was, would you guys is it generally a good idea to carry some negative delta to defend against a market downturn? I think that's what you're kind of speaking to, is if you are kind of up a lot and want to buy some protection out on the tails, you can do that pretty cheaply, right? That's kind of what you were making the point about.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're worried about some sort of FTX style crash in Bitcoin, then that downside risk is pretty cheap right now. My personal opinion is that that's not the setup here today. But if you wanted to carry that, right, you're going to have a negative cost to carry. That theta decay is going to work against you, and that's true of those upside call options. But it's cheap to hedge, I suppose,
right,
at this level. I don't typically carry negative deltas in Bitcoin necessarily. But, if you recognize that, hey, we're entering into a period where, from a broader kind of macro perspective, this asset doesn't trade as well and it's cheap to buy that downside, sure. I just don't see us in that period today or entering into that within the next, let's say, 3 months or so.
Right.
But anything can happen, right?
Yeah, for sure. Another one in the chat from Philip. What's your view on ADA, Cardano, Sleeping Giant, or Dying Project? And why? You got anything on that?
I haven't used anything on Cardano in so long. It was a couple of years ago when I was buying music NFTs over there, and I wasn't super impressed with the user experience, but I haven't been back.
Right.
So from a boots on the ground experience, I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, fundamentals, I haven't looked at it in a while either.
Well, I think that's a good point. Is you've tried using the chain. Mm-hmm. Is there a lot of activity? There's not much activity. I did the same thing. I got introduced to some game over there a couple years ago. I downloaded a wallet, tried moving money around, and haven't gone back. And I don't, Shelly and I are in the space every day. We chat with people. I don't hear developers developing anything on Cardano, but I do know that it has mind share, and I do know that from an academic perspective, research perspective, and I think it's got a huge treasury. It might stick around. It might catch a bid. Like I said, this rotation to altcoins could be something, maybe it catches up, but I don't know. I don't hear very many people building stuff over there, to Shelly's point. So maybe it's worth having a small percentage in your portfolio. I know the founder and some of the people over there, it's kind of cultish. So cults are good in crypto. So yeah, maybe. I don't know, Ian. It's a good question. Let's see what else we got here. Quantum. Yeah, that is interesting because that quantum has popped up in the zeitgeist, and a lot of content creators are covering it. IonQ, some of that stuff. It's not here. These don't have. There's not real product. Not necessarily worried about that as it pertains to crypto. Everyone's aware of it. I think the other thing is if somebody got a hold of quantum compute, is the first thing they're going to do try to hack Bitcoin, or are they going to try to hack a nation state? Like, I think we have bigger problems here. So
Hack Bitcoin.
yeah, I would maybe you're right. Maybe you would hack Bitcoin, but no, it's interesting. I think it's definitely something people have talked about. I know like IonQ is one of the companies, but I was done research on it, and I don't think they have a real product. I think it's all kind of like not that close. So definitely something to be aware of. Going to triple my account size.
Also, guys, I've got to catch a flight, so I'm going to sneak off of this show here. It was a pleasure joining you on this crypto edition of Options Trading Concepts Live.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Safe travels.
Thank you for having me. If anybody is in the DMV area outside of Washington, D.C., come check us out tomorrow night, 5 p.m. The doors open. It's going to be an awesome show. Look forward to seeing you if you're there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Have fun with the gang.
We could take a short break, right? Or
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's allowed.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we don't need a break.
Oh, we don't. Okay.
No breaks needed.
All right. So let's keep going, and you can see the chat, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's go back to the slides, guys. We have a huge segment here on capabilities at Tasty. Mm-hmm. What can you do with crypto? I see JDD. Do you guys know if USDC will be added to Tasty?
Are we allowed to share that yet?
Well, hint. Something's being worked on. Yeah. So I can show stablecoins are big. Circle went live. You guys have probably followed that. It was a huge IPO. I think one of the biggest for a crypto company besides Coinbase. Mm-hmm. I use stablecoins every day. I think it's a great innovation. And if you advance the slide one more to the stablecoin market cap, I want to have us talk about that a little bit because this is from DeFi Llama again. I want to show the trend of stablecoins, which are US dollars on chain, US dollars in the crypto ecosystem. The dollar's king. It'll always be king. We're not, at least I'm not a believer in Bitcoin taking over as far as like a stable currency. It's dollars on chain. So just looking at this trend, stablecoins haven't been around that long. So we got USDC and Tether. USDT is those are the two that are the main.
The two biggest, yeah.
Yeah.
There are others, but.
Right. Others that we won't talk about here, but the two biggest are Tether, US dollar coin, and since 2018, where it was basically at zero, you could see it's just been up to the right. And so I look at that as a really simple illustration of liquidity flowing into crypto on chain, right? So from 2018 to now, we have over $250 billion in dollars on chain just for the two stable coins. Mm-hmm. So I do think it's kind of proven itself as a stable kind of trusted, I guess, trading source or liquidity source rather. And I think that trend on this chart kind of proves that. So to JDD's question, yeah, like I think it's become a legitimate funding source, and we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes on the crypto side. So
lots of updates.
Yeah, those updates will be coming soon. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else we got here.
As far as stablecoins, just conceptually, I was listening to a few podcasts and reading some articles this morning around how Americans don't, and I don't want to speak too generally, but like most Americans don't fully understand the utility behind something like this because it's a privileged stance that we live in a fairly stable economy. But if you've ever lived through a country's economy collapsing and suddenly your dollar or whatever, your currency is just deflated by hundreds of percentage points overnight and you wake up, that's terrifying. So to have something that's this global and stable for people in other countries is incredible. It's
Right.
remarkable. It's evolution of the entire financial industry. So I think that's an important thing to remember. This is not just a US thing. This is such a global environment that keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's a great point just from like a general concept of
Like the philosophy behind crypto.
yeah, and I think I always go back to it's a 24/7 global financial system. And you might think like, oh, well, we have great stock markets in the States, obviously in other countries, but they're not constantly updated.
You just have to use it once.
Yeah, just use it once.
Use it once, and you're like, why isn't this the thing for everything?
Yeah.
I ran my own business for a while, and we were doing work out of Switzerland. And waiting for our payment took weeks. We were paying hundreds of dollars in fees. And it was like, oh, forget it. Let's just, pay me in crypto. And it was like, oh, I got it in 30 seconds. It cost like a few bucks. And why aren't we doing this?
Yeah, and
So-
in that context too, you like trust it more too.
Yeah.
You're like afraid that something's going to get held up, a wire somewhere. But
There's so many middlemen that I'm like, oh, and we had payments get stalled. Like, what happened? You're on the phone. None of that. Just instant.
yeah. So, because I do think this is a really important topic to understand if you are interested in the space, because, or even if you saw Circle go live and that just crazy IPO and why it was so volatile and what the company does. I mean, this is really truly an upgrade, and it's good for dollars. It's good for, I think, the U.S. and our markets and our market structure. So, PayPal, I saw PayPal in the chat. PayPal has one, PYUSD. We have that in the Tasty Crypto wallet if you guys are wallet users. So definitely something we use every day. Shelly has an experience with it. And I
Especially
think,
being early in the space, people always ask, like, well, okay, so you have a bunch of crypto. How do you pay your bills with it? Well, as an off-ramp, being able to swap into a stable coin that then you can send to your bank, that's how I'm paying my bills.
right.
I may be deep in the trenches, but
It's
I'm still an adult.
still, we're still real people. We're
Yeah.
not totally in the virtual world.
Right.
Yeah, stablecoins have extreme utility in trading, scramble everything. Yeah, it does. You can't really, early on in the space, if you were back around in 2017, pre-2018, you had to trade in like Bitcoin pairs or like ETH pairs and as the base currency rather, and it was just hard. It's just hard to do, right? So this is a huge unlock, huge utility in trading, liquidity. I just think general markets makes them more efficient, makes it easier to transact.
Yeah.
Total upgrade, I think. So wanted to show that, wanted to touch on that because we do have updates coming to the platform.
Yeah, speaking of the platform,
Yes.
all of you all in chat, are you ready to trade crypto?
Yes.
So if we can go to the next slide, if you haven't already enabled crypto trading at Tasty, this is how to do it. Dan can show you in his account. You just start on your Manage tab, go to your accounts, trading preferences, and then trade cryptocurrency with Zero Hash. And he already has it enabled. But if you don't, you click that and you go through the process. There's also a how-to video on the Tasty Trade YouTube channel that will walk you through this. So the resources are available. Get them turned on. Join the
Yes.
party.
Yes, we wanna know that you're trading trading crypto at Tasty. It's pretty easy to enable. We've made a ton of upgrades too. I think if you've been with us for a while in the past, crypto's kind of been there, a couple spot pairs. we're adding tokens pretty much every week.
Yeah.
So if you're seeing something pop up and you want to hop on and it doesn't have an ETF, you want to be trading with us. So please enable it. If you need any help, email us. We'll take care of you.
Jump in our Discord. You
yeah.
can talk to us directly. Hello, Jose. Good to see you. Says stablecoins are essential, especially in liquidity pools. True that. I am deep into some other liquidity pools with unstable pairs, and I can't compute. My brain's like, wait, what is my P&L? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Somebody built a tool to figure it out, and I was up way more than my brain could process. I thought I was down. It was like, surprise! Like, cool. But yeah, so if anybody's not familiar with liquidity pools, it's much easier to trade or to provide liquidity with a stable coin, so USDC, and then something like ETH. So you can it makes more sense.
Right. And I think the way to think about liquidity pools too, and we'll do more on this as, as we go along. We'll send out some newsletter stuff. You're basically a market maker. So it's inventory management, right? So you can be, you could have a higher supply of, let's say, Solana USDC as a stablecoin pair. You can set a range. It might trade in that range. You'll collect the fees, but as it trades out of the range, you'll acquire one or the other pair depending on which side it goes to. We'll have to throw up a visual.
Yeah.
We'll create some more tutorials, a little bit out of scope for what we're doing today. But if you're interested in going deeper, that's where the tastycrypto wallet comes in. That's where having zero hash enabled and withdrawals and deposits, we can help you do some of this stuff in DeFi and take advantage of these opportunities. Again, you can be a market maker. I think that's like a really cool thing that traditional finance doesn't necessarily have for most investors, most traders. So if you're interested in that, feel free to email us. We'll send you a guide. We do videos on it.
Oh, we've got a lot of whole courses coming for that. So yeah, we can get into that. We've got a question from Scramble Everything. If I move my coins from Coinbase to my Tasty wallet, I can then send from tastycrypto, then move funds to Tasty Trade account. Okay, so excellent question. Happy you brought that up. We're going to answer that after one slide. We'll discuss crypto transfers within Tasty Trade. So if we can go to
one more slide.
No, let's.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can. Let's go ahead and talk about the follow feed with Ryan.
Okay.
This is where if you are a Tasty trader, and I'm curious, Tasty traders, are you using the follow feed? Ryan's really the only one trading crypto at Tasty.
Yeah.
I looked at everybody, and Tom's dabbling, but out of everybody, it's Ryan. So if you're curious about what's going on, if you want to show how to do it.
Can you guys take to my screen? I want to show the platform.
Yeah, you'll just...
So we recently got Ryan enabled for follow feed. Mm-hmm. If you guys don't know where to start trading, I think just following Ryan is the way to go. Ryan is, you guys know Ryan. He's been here. He knows the Tasty way. He's doing trades based on what you all know. So the way to do that is just right here on trading on the left-hand side, follow feed, and then you can filter by Ryan. So if the traders come up, you can click on Ryan and then filter by crypto. So you can see in real time him placing these trades. So we talked about it last week. He was in Compound and Aave, which are two DeFi protocols. They make money. They're real. They have revenue, hundreds of thousands of users. He got in pretty early here.
I made
trade.
money on that thanks to him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, and then he recently got long ETH. So I think definitely a good place to start if you're curious and you want to
looking for ideas.
Yeah, looking for ideas, want to trade spot. Maybe the ETFs, you're kind of like, all right, I got all I can do on the ETFs, Bitcoin, ETH. Mm-hmm. This is where you go deeper and try and catch a bid on some of these altcoins.
Yep.
So follow feed he'll be placing trades pretty much every week, if not every day. Mm-hmm. And if you guys have any recommendations for us or anything you want to see how we might trade it, definitely shoot us a message or drop it in the chat. We could talk about it. Okay, Wendy, any thoughts on Sui? Yes. So I am very active on Sui. I think it's what I would consider a Gen 3 layer 1 smart contracting protocol. It was formed out of the Meta Facebook DM stablecoin project. So the people working on it are well connected. There's a lot of innovation as it comes to like development and the tech side. But I think from a trade angle, I look at it as like Solana 2019. I'm not talking about price, but just as like people they're sleeping on it, and there's activity over there. I personally run a decent sized DeFi pool. I'm using the protocol. I do talk to people at the SWE Foundation that are building some of this stuff. So I know there's activity. I know some stuff's going on over there. There was a recent hack, unfortunately, but everything was covered.
Yep.
So we're kind of learning. And so that's, Wendy, if you want to talk any more on that, obviously shoot us an email. I can send you some more resources, but I do trade that. I do have a decent amount of money in SUI as far as like my trading portfolio. Are you doing anything over there or no?
I'm just holding right now.
Yeah.
I haven't, I'm too scattered. I was like, ooh, I want it, but that was as far as I got. Yeah. Let's see, scramble everything, saw Ryan's trades, English, etc. Yes, using the follow for options, but now for crypto. Awesome. JDD said the follow feed is annoying because some people don't put details on what they are trading or why, and it's fragments. That is excellent feedback. We will circulate that around and see if we can't get people to add more details.
At least Ryan, we will for Ryan's trades, just to kind of give you a sense. I do know it's hard because it's spot, right? Like you're just kind of buying and hoping it goes up. Right. So there needs to be like a catalyst or something why we put that on. So we'll definitely take note of that.
And then just if you don't catch this and you are looking to find how to use the follow feed, we did post this tutorial video on the Tasty Crypto YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So you can look over there for more quick clip tutorials.
Yeah, very beginner content. We've recently refocused that channel to be very beginner friendly. Again, like we're trying to show you how to be successful. Both me and Shelly have worked full time in crypto for 5 years. So more than that. It feels like 100 years, but so yeah, we're gonna do a lot more beginner friendly stuff, and just obviously chat with us. We're more than happy to show you what we do.
So let's get to the next slide so we can show you how the crypto transfers are working. So let's just dive into, you can screenshot the slide if you'd like, or Dan's going to show how to do it on the browser. And so to deposit crypto, you just go to manage, my money. Are you in there already?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't see where you are.
We're good. You guys can go to my screen. Thank you.
Go. Yeah.
Manage my accounts.
And then go to My Money. Go to My Money, and then cryptocurrency transfers. And so from there, if you go to the deposit tab, you select which account, your crypto chain. So pull that down. These are the current options. More are coming. So Bitcoin, ETH, Litecoin. Can you scroll? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead, select ETH if you're going to transfer ETH. Can you click on that, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah, and then
there's your wallet.
It generates a wallet through zero hash. So that's how you are sending to your account.
Yes.
To make a deposit.
Yeah.
That is connected to your Tasty account.
Right. So that's basically like sending any type of other funding mechanism. You're just using Ethereum on ETH mainnet, right? So like the network, the networks can be confusing, but send ETH to that address. So yeah, you copy it here. I always do, and I'm just like, maybe you guys do this with wires or whatever, but I always check the first 4
after the 0x.
After the 0x. So right here, first 5, and then the last 5. So when you paste this into, whether you're bringing it over from Coinbase or a wallet or whatever, when you paste that in, just double check. Double check the first 5, double check the last 5.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you're sending it, to the right address. And our trade desk helps too. If you ever get confused or you want to double check, we'll help you through that. So that's how you deposit.
Yes.
And so again, if you have ETH somewhere else, you want to bring it over and use it to trade here. Very easy to do. It'll be there in probably no more than a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And you can do it anytime.
24/7.
24/7.
24/7. We've got some questions regarding stablecoins
Sure.
as a transfer mechanism coming soon.
Yes, well, very soon.
Yeah. And so on the flip side, if you want to withdraw, if we can go to the next slide.
Yeah.
I think, are we showing slides? Yeah, there we go.
Crypto transfers.
Yeah, crypto transfers. So, sorry, go back up one slide. There we go. So, how to withdraw. Again, these are just quick and dirty instructions, but Dan will also demonstrate. So, if we can go back to Dan's
Platform.
screen. Sorry, we're making the production team
Yeah.
jump around quite a bit.
Shout out production team.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Same area under your cryptocurrency transfers. You just go over to that withdrawal tab, select the account. So Dan, do you want to go ahead and just walk through?
Yeah. So withdraw, select the asset. Obviously the account, select the asset. We'll do ETH again. And then you have amount. And then
We'll select your wallet. So if you
select that. You're right.
you already have yours in here,
Yes.
you're going to need to first add the wallets. So if you have multiple custodial wallets, just add them, name them so that they're in there, because I think they do need to be approved, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I can show that real quick. It's under my wallets here. You can go down and you just add new wallet, right? And there's a disclaimer here. Again, if you're struggling or you're afraid or you don't know, just chat into the trade desk. We'll help you. It's not that hard. We'll definitely take care of you. And you could pick. We have more assets here that you can fund or withdraw to rather. So we'll do ETH. I don't know. I don't have my wallet address, but you would paste your outside wallet address. So Tasty Crypto Wallet, you could paste it here, and then you could call it Tasty Crypto Wallet. I confirm, check the wallet address. Like I said, double check the first 5, the last 5, and then it'll send a request to us. We'll approve it, and then it's whitelisted. So it'll be underneath my wallet.
It'll be remembered,
here,
yeah, saved.
Right. So I got a bunch Bitcoin asset, and then when you withdraw, again, select the asset, select the wallet address. Again, see first 4, last 5. That's how we do it.
And because you've chosen the asset ETH, it's only giving you your ETH wallets.
Right.
So there are a couple layers of I don't want to say idiot proof, but idiot proof, and I'm not insulting anybody. That's like crypto 101. Don't send crypto to the wrong type of address. A lot of them won't let you anymore, but in the early days, if you were sending ETH to a Solana address, it was like, it's gone forever, and mistakes have been made. So we're coming pretty far in the space where it's getting easier and a little more rigid to avoid mistakes like that.
Right. And just type in the amount, right? So here's my available balance. You can click max if you wanted to withdraw max. I'm not going to. I'll withdraw, whatever, 0.2. I have a 2FA on. Type in the 2FA, and it'll show you the fees and kind of what's going on there. But yeah, it's really simple. I think if you're using the Tasty Crypto wallet, we actually do have a connection. We're not going to show that today, but you can connect your brokerage account to the Tasty Crypto wallet, and you can buy directly in the wallet. So your balance will show up, your crypto balance will show up. You'll be able to do some of that stuff in the wallet, transfer out. It's going to be very, I guess,
less seamy.
So yeah.
Seamless, but we're working up towards seamless.
Yeah, less seamy.
Less seamy. There you go.
So,
Dav Nico says I'm offended. I apologize.
You guys have, okay. Are there any restrictions or limitations for withdrawing crypto? Amir, so there aren't any restrictions to withdraw. The thing is you have to get your wallet whitelisted. So what you do is you'll submit on the My Wallets page, you'll add a new wallet, right? And this might be your hot wallet from a MetaMask, from the Tasty Crypto wallet, might be Coinbase wallet, Binance, whatever.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is when you submit that, it'll run through a compliance check, similar to KYC, but not as in depth. And we'll just make sure that it's the right wallet, it's whitelisted, and it's safe. It hasn't been tagged in any illicit activities, essentially. Mm-hmm. So there really isn't any restrictions or limitations. It's just we're running our internal checks to make sure that wallet hasn't interacted with any illicit things.
Nefarious, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I do feel like there's this kind of sense, if you're not familiar, that maybe like it's scary or there's illicit things. Like we take care of all that.
Yeah.
So it's very safe. 30-day hold. Yeah, that was something we did previously, but our trade desk will take care. If you support I'm not in there. I'm not on the trade desk, but our team will take care of it.
Ask for Dan.
You could ask for me. Actually, if you want to ask for me, they'll come over and chat with me. So, yeah. Amir, you got an in.
Yeah. Oven baked. This is like a different language. We feel you. I've been in this space for a long time, and I'm still learning new vocabulary words almost on a daily basis. So if you feel overwhelmed, you're not alone. We're here with you. Ask all the questions. Jump in our Discord, tweet at us, hop in our email. That's why we're here.
Yeah, and think about on your journey as a beginning option trader, right? There was a ton of, there's still stuff I don't even know.
We've got 2 minutes left, and we still have some slides to run through.
Okay.
So if we can go back to the slides, but back to the transfers, go to the Tasty Trade YouTube channel. There is a how-to video on how to do all of this if you want that as a reference. We could skip this, would you trade it if it was a stock slide? We were not going to have time.
Okay.
Let's get everybody here on the Tasty Crypto newsletter list. We send 2 emails a week. The market update is sent on Wednesday mornings. Ryan gives that midweek update so that you are as informed as possible. There's so much going on in the space. We're doing our best to comb the universe and condense into useful information. Next to orange is our weekly update sent on Saturdays. It's got everything from entertainment to a weekly vocabulary word so that you can start learning the new language, especially like degen speak. It's entering into everyday life. We have shirts with LFG on the back, which is now old and cringy. So, but we're going to hold your hand. We can learn all of it together. So scan that QR code. That goes to our link tree where you can follow us on all the accounts. If you want to go to the next slide, please. You can find us on multiple shows. Ryan is on this show, the OTC Live show, every Monday, and he does pretty much a crypto hour. The Tasty Crypto show, also on the network here, and this YouTube channel is Monday and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Central. And then on the Tasty Crypto YouTube channel, get over there, subscribe. We do a live show every Friday called Beans. It is deep in the weeds, but very interactive. We will hold your hand. We can do boot camp series if you want to just, all right, this hour is mine. I want you to hold my hand. I have all these questions. We'll do that.
Yes.
So jump on over there. We stream that to the Tasty Crypto Twitter X account, YouTube, and Facebook. So we will meet you where you are. Next slide, please. And we also do all the weird things in Web3 to keep it interesting. So if you want to go ahead and follow us on Zora, Zora is a really cool content platform that tokenizes content, and you can trade Tom and Tony, Fud Daddy, and Pump Me Daddy.
We created tokens for Tom and Tony. So they have their own crypto underneath our Tasty Crypto account on this platform, Zora. So
we're keeping it weird.
We're tokenizing everything. You've heard it before. You might not know what it meant, but yes. Tom and Tony have their own crypto. If you want some, we'll send you some.
Absolutely. And so we keep it weird. We keep it fun. Last slide, please. Let's connect. Dan is Truth Dan C on X. I'm TeenyBod. You can make fun of me all day for that handle. It's old. And of course, the Tasty Crypto main channel. And again, you can connect with us directly in Discord. Thank you so much. This has been an awesome opportunity. Shout out to Dan, Mike, and Katie. And then Ryan, they're all in DC. Join them and have a wonderful day. I'm
See you
Shelly.
guys. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.